All systems go. Clear for liftoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, aka ToeTagginTambo, back for another edition, a special edition actually, of it's a Saturday two-gamer NFL slate. Going to break things down for you guys there. We're going to just talk through that slate first. Then we're actually going to have a showdown segment at the end where, while we are on our channel, more on that in a second, we will still bring up the Run the Sims page, go through some of the Sims segment for that night game tonight. Got my guy Hoop with me here as always. Going to cover a lot of that, some stuff that we've got going over the next couple of days. But Hoop, I'll bring you in first, man. We got to chat about this slate here. We've got two games on the docket. Already the chat saying tough sledding, tough slate, all these other things. I think we can get through it, though, because, Josh Allen is going to be popular, but then we can talk down from there. So what's your first thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, not the greatest slate, but it's better than, a shitty showdown slate. I mean, at least you have two potentially shitty games instead of one, more options. Less likelihood for duplication at the top, better chance to kind of solo ship, and $500,000 up top on DraftKings. So definitely way more appealing than one crappy game. We have two crappy games instead of one, which I'll take any day of the week. Prize pools are big, like I said, and yeah, we'll go through, break it down. Starts a busy week. I mean, we got the two today, busy weekend. We start the two today. Got the two today. We got the full slate tomorrow, which will have our normal Sunday morning show, me, you, and title. And then we have the 3-game Christmas Day slate. We have the big NBA Christmas Day slate. Holidays are here. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to everyone out there, whatever you celebrate. Wish you and your family the best. But we'll be working all weekend and, definitely spending time with the family as well. I got to find that proper balance this weekend. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, certainly what it's all about. Echo everything Hoop said there. Wish you guys a happy holidays. Everybody out there, thank you for all the support. If you are just joining us, hit the like button on the way in. Definitely got to talk about this subscribe button, though. It's important. So a couple things. We've talked about this since launching this YouTube channel. Some out there said maybe we'd be around 2,500 by the end of the year. We're up to almost 5,000. But we said we were on the tour for 4. We made that happen with some giveaways. We did say on the drive for 5, we're just 80 subscribers away. It's free to subscribe. If you're here right now and you haven't yet done so, click the subscribe button. If we get the 80 by tomorrow, we will be giving away the annual membership. Hopefully to boost it, we're going to put this out there. We know a lot are live with us now, and then many will come back and watch us on playback today leading up to tonight's 2-game slate. If you subscribe today, or even if you're already subscribed, find a video, go comment on it, #ShipIt. Subscribe and go comment. We will give away one of our member giveaway 6-month memberships tomorrow, no matter what. So Chris Neville, our guy Nevs, and DFS Juice both gave us a 6-month membership to give away. At the end, they'll all be given away eventually, but we'll commit to giving one of those away tomorrow, no matter what. We would rather have our guy Santa Claus arrive and drop off an annual membership as well to go with it, though. So we would love to give that stuff away. Make sure you're subscribing to this channel here. Only 80 subscribers away from giving away the annual tomorrow. Hoop said it, busy weekend ahead. Just want to show this quickly for you guys, then we'll get right into it. If you do want to get signed up for the nation, I still recommend going with at least the monthly because you get the Discord. But if there was ever a weekend to sign up just to get the content, we're going to have NFL covered for Showdown. We're going to have all the stuff for the main site. We're going to convert this stuff all with projections, ownership, Showdown, and the main stuff 3 times. We've already got the 2-gamer stuff up. We're going to convert it to the 3-gamer, and then we'll convert it to the Christmas Day, Monday, December 25th slate with the 3 games on there as well. So there's going to be 3 swaps that we'll have, the main slate being tomorrow, of course. So lots of good stuff for you guys. Can check it all out over here. If you do want to use the monthly, we'll give our guy Mayo some cut there. You go use the promo code Mayo, you get 10% off. You get it for $62. So check it all out there. Go ahead, Hoop, bring up what you got, and then I'll talk about how we'll roll through it here. Push the wife out for the last minute because I know it'll take her 4 hours to compete, so he can get here for the show uninterrupted. Yeah, lots of good stuff. We got a lot of shows. Like Hoop said, we're going to record the Christmas Day one for you guys. Our guys Title and Hebrew Cheetah, Rio are going to record the Monday Big 5 gamer for NBA. So we're going to have a lot of extra content for you guys over the weekend. But I think, Hoop, for this 2-gamer, I'm going to do it kind of how Ham and I do the NBA one. Like, we could just look at it from a 2-game perspective, position by position. It's easier to talk through it. And then what we'll do is we'll go to the sim segment for the actual showdown. By the way, I got to give kudos to the chat. Finally came through. They had the, what was it? The Rams and the over. Finally came through because Derek Carr battled back at the end and found a way to get some points.
Hey, your boy's been spot on with the bold calls, by the way. And I wish I have taken advantage of it in the betting market more so, but the calls on these games have been spot on. I know the Saints scored some garbage time at the end, but the Rams dominated that game.
Yeah, anytime you're on that, hopefully you got some of those takes today, because anytime it's with the tight end whisperer, Hoop, or it's with these blowouts and these spots, or it's when you say someone completely sucks, but this is the week they're going to come through. Your crystal ball somehow tells you exactly when that's going to be. Shout out to some of our members out there. Kim says the hot take is the Chargers win tonight.
That is a hot one. That is a very hot one. Steaming hot.
That is really hot one, actually. The other one is, who said it up here earlier? Someone had it. I don't know where it went. Anyway, there was another one that said Easton Stick Day as well. So we got a couple people thinking that for sure. And then Andrew says, looking to get back in soon. Quick question about these 2-game slates. How different do you need to get for high dollar single entry? So Hoop, I'll let you take that one to start things off, and then we'll dive into the slate overall, starting at the quarterback position.
Yeah, I mean, for the 2-game slate, I mean, honestly, there's really only so much you can do. I mean, there's not like, you're not going to find like a 3% like diamond in the rough guy. I mean, it's probably more like what you do with roster construction, I think, maybe overloading in a spot, potentially playing like 2 running backs from the same team to get different, that sort of thing. But really on a 2-game slate, there's not much you can do. The nice thing about this slate is, where majority of the ownership's going. I mean, it's going to be Buffalo Bills for sure. Everything else, for the most part, I guess there are some other pretty popular spots, but everyone's going to be playing a lot of Bills. So if you want to get different right out of the gate, one way would be to go a little bit different and maybe play, I don't know, a different team heavy. But it's hard on a 2-game slate to get really, really different.
Yeah, or just jam 6 Bills in. You can do that too. That's worked like two of the last like eight slates like this where they've been on there. It's usually what it is. You just jam all of the Bills in. That's definitely a way that you can go. We'll talk through it though when we get to the positions and the games here. Did you have a first take on how the games play out today, Hoop, before we get to going through that? And then Gary says he hears a new lawnmower with a red bow will be out in Hoop's front yard on Christmas morning.
That would get me pretty excited. I am not going to lie. If I woke up and Santa delivered me a brand new mower sitting out there in the front yard, I would be that would make my holiday season. There's no doubt about it. But I unfortunately don't think that's going to. I like my mower though. I mean, me and my mower have some good chemistry, so I don't think I could push it aside at this point. But that sort of stuff does get me going. That's for sure. In terms of these games, I mean. Bengals, Steelers. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't have a strong read on the game. I mean, going to Pittsburgh, it can be a tough place to play. Would I be surprised if Pittsburgh got the win? No, the Bengals are favored by 3. I mean, I could really see that one going either way. And then that second game, I mean, the Bills are kind of starting to roll now. Big favorites. The Chargers clearly done. I mean, there's nothing here, but the firing of the head coach and all the other guys that went along with it. Sometimes you see these teams pop up in these spots and play well. Am I predicting the Chargers play well today? No, I think the Bills are rolling right now. I expect the Bills to get the job done, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Chargers put up a fight, play a little inspired. I mean, that last game they played was, pathetic. You'd see the players had quit on the coach. Those fumbles where it seemed like they're almost literally dropping the ball on purpose. It's like I could have ripped the ball out of those guys' hands on those plays. So I wouldn't be surprised if they make it competitive. I do think the Bills do get the job done, though, for sure.
Yeah, and obviously people are going to see that total, that game, and focus on it heavily. You talk about the Josh Allen stuff, which we'll get into in a second, how easy it is to afford him on this slate with some of the values just based on the other positions. It's just our projections, not updated yet for this morning. We'll get an update in there shortly, but just bring it up so I could show you guys. But when you get to, James Cook being the highest price running back here, or sorry, not the highest price, it's Austin Eckler, but highest price being at 7,200. You go here, obviously Stephon Diggs at 8,700 fits in, but after that, there's no chase this week, right? So you've got Higgins at 6,500, then it kind of drops off a cliff. If you don't like Dalton Kincaid or you're okay being off Kincaid, it's 3,800 and down. And then, of course, defenses have very little cost to them. So realistically, it's very affordable and easy to get a guy like Josh Allen in. I will say this, like as far as that first game goes, this is kind of the spots, and I can't really get heavy behind Mason Rudolph here. And so I won't be selling you on that. But just to say, these are the types of games on how Tomlin gets to all those break even and winning seasons. I think it's like 13 of 16 winning seasons for the Steelers. It's at home. It's in Pittsburgh. Somehow they just grind it out and come through. So you could see that on this slate as well. I cannot wait to get Hoops takes when we get to the running back position around Najee Harris and the concrete boots. But we'll get there. Let's start at the quarterback position, though, Hoop. And again, just blending it with our projections here. No secret. Allen, a lot more expensive than going to these other guys. Projects better. All of that for good reason. But what's your take on how you're going to handle Josh Allen today? Because I know some of these slates in the past, you've just sort of been all in and said, forget those other guys. Do you have thoughts around that for this slate?
If this was prior to the offensive coordinator getting fired, this is a spot where I could just go all in on Josh Allen and just run 150 Josh Allen teams and let it roll. There's way more risk now with the way they're running their offense. And you've seen their offense kind of starts with James Cook. And we've seen it for 4 or 5 straight weeks since they fired that guy. James Cook is a priority for them offensively, and he has a lot of different ways to kind of control the game. As we saw last week, they did not Josh Allen had 94 passing yards in that game. That it would have been unheard of prior to that offensive coordinator getting fired. If they get a big lead, they're fine just grinding out the clock, which we saw last week. They did barely pass the ball in the second half. Now, will they do that again against the Chargers? I'm not 100% sure they would, just because I think they respected the Cowboys a little bit and they wanted to make sure that there was no fishy business. They know probably they'll be able to handle the Chargers regardless. I don't think they go to that full run attack to kind of grind out the clock, but it definitely is in the realm of possibilities. So I think it does introduce some risk to Josh Allen's fantasy performance. Now, I have Josh Allen as, my highest owned quarterback. There's no secret about that. And I think also, which, this is a part of the premium product at at SHIPIT Nation. I wrote this up where I think Josh Allen could still be the quarterback you need at a floor performance. If he goes out there and puts up 16, 17, 18 fantasy points, like he could still be the guy that you need at the end of the day. So, it does still revolve around Josh Allen today at the quarterback position.
Yeah, the chat's all talking about Mason Rudolph. Don't forget about this, right, Hoop? Mason Rudolph on Christmas weekend. Got to go with the narrative.
Yeah.
But then you didn't tell us that he's a good play today when the chat said he's absolute cheek. So it can't be the crystal ball spot for Mason Rudolph. So I don't see that one happening with him. Ross says he is 3-0 versus the Bengals, the Big Cat Hunter. Talking about big dog over there on the PGA streets with Tiger Woods, all the big dog memes. Big Cat Hunter, Mason Rudolph. There is ways to stack it up. Definitely. Like you could do it there. I know our guy Ham is kind of interested in it. He mentioned it in his slate plan, and he likes, Deontay, and you can get some talk around this week with Warren in there. You got all kinds of stuff going on there, but I think that it's just tough to imagine. The other guy I was going to bring up here, you look at the floor performance piece you mentioned on Josh Allen, at least with Browning. I mean, you could see some opportunity here. So I like Browning in this spot. It's $2,000 less. It allows me to fit a lot more. I can get 3 pieces from the Buffalo LAC game where you can get like Diggs, Cook, and Eckler. We will have a conversation on Eckler in a second as well. I think there's lots of good conversation to be had around that. But is there anything else you want to add on quarterback or anything to add on with Jake Browning and the Bengals there? Because the thing about Browning, again, we just showed it. Floor, ceiling kind of for that price. Like it's all right there. But also we get a more condensed target tree with no Jamar Chase. And I don't know what your take's going to be on Mixon when we get there, but you can play him with Mixon just like you can play Josh Allen with James Cook.
Yeah, I really like Browning. I mean, you and I have kind of been on him for the past, 3 weeks since he's taken over this job. We saw it was the primetime game. He looked really good, continues to put up fantasy points. He's definitely the number 2 for me. And it's nice because when you do pair him with some of his pass catchers, it's cheap and you still can get exposure to some of the higher end guys as well. Pittsburgh down at least 2 guys in their secondary. They got hurt last week. So it is going to be a weak spot for them. I'm in on Browning. I like his pass catchers today. You can pair him with Mixon. You can pair him with Chase Brown. Like we'll talk about in a little bit. I think Browning is in a pretty good spot here to succeed. Now, the Mason Rudolph stuff I get, but man, it's scary for me. I don't really want to be on Mason Rudolph today all that much. And then Easton Stick looked a little rough to start, but then kind of turned it on, got there fantasy wise. Ended up putting 20 fantasy points in that blowout game. Like, there's no risk with him. Like, he's going to go out there and it's not like they're going to bench this kid. Like, he's going to play the whole game regardless of what happens in that game. They're likely playing from behind. He's cheap, and a lot of ways to pair him up. So, good with Allen, but I do think there's a little bit of risk, honestly, with Josh Allen for that reason. I know someone posted it in the chat. They said that, that's not going to happen ever. But Buffalo said they didn't plan on doing that. Dallas just couldn't stop the run. Yeah, that makes sense. But will the Chargers be able to stop the run in the second half? Probably not either. So I think there is a little bit of risk with Josh Allen. But again, I think a floor performance, he could still be the guy that you need today. Browning, Stick, I'm good with. And, Rudolph, I don't really want to be there all that much.
Yeah, and a lot of this stuff is valid. I will address this stuff quickly. I already brought this one up. Our guy Ross, Rudolph is 3-0 against the Bengals. Great. Not the narrative one, Rudolph the red nose. We already see that one. But just where's some of the other ones here? Let me just see. Right here. Rudolph and Deontay have the best chemistry. Check their history on limited sample size, et cetera, et cetera. We've seen these games play out. Could not be a better spot for Boyd. This is all true stuff. Porter's been incredible, by the way, too, which was brought up right after. Porter can shadow Higgins, all that. I don't know when we'll learn, though. I know everyone's got to throw it out there, and it's fine. All good facts, all true. But remember, 2-game slate. Literally none of this stuff matters. It's one slipped foot. It's anything can happen on the, Walker sucks. There's no way Kenneth Walker can have a big game last week because the matchup is bad on paper on a single game showdown slate when no one's on him. That's the whole point. All this stuff goes out the window. Build your lineups accordingly. But, looking for that stuff, if you build the perfect DVP rankings lineup and the perfect shadow matchup, cornerback, et cetera, you got the same lineup as everybody else out there that thinks like that. You need the unknowns to happen, and the best place for the unknowns to happen is on a 2-game slate. Literally one thing breaks your way, and it's a game changer for you. So don't be putting 10 diamond in the rough plays and into your pool and trying to make sure you got 3 of them in every lineup. You don't have to go that aggressive, but I'm saying you can look for other things to happen, and you don't really have to worry about that stuff as much. It will be great when Porter does shut down Higgins and you get to go after the game and brag and say, see, knew Porter was going to shut down Higgins, et cetera, et cetera. But that's not what we're looking out for on this slate. I actually hope more people would do that now. Go ahead, hop in, but you get what I'm saying.
I was just going to say the other aspect of that is, maybe he does shut him down the entire game. Okay, maybe he does. Maybe he's got 3 for 30 or something. But on a 2-game slate, if he finds the end zone once, you might just need him. If he gets to 12 somehow, that could be good enough on a 2-game slate. So the expectations have to come way down on what you're trying to get. I mean, he's their best red zone target right now with Chase out. Doesn't need to do that much to potentially be on the optimal. So it's tough to really play those matchups and things like that. I mean, it's just 2-game slate, one play, all that shit just goes right out the window.
And then real quick, while we're on this, then we're going to go to running back. But do you, with some of your stacks, just doing a quick hand build here on the solver, just to look at it with our projections, if you go Allen, Diggs, Kincaid, you only got 4.7 left. Even if you find a cheaper D and you say, okay, I'll play the Steelers at home, you get 5K. Did you look at some of this? What was your preferred stacking method? Is it just Allen and Diggs? Is there other ways that you were looking at it? What did you like the best out of this setup here?
Yeah, I mean, so what if you play the high price guys, Allen, Diggs, you got Knox in there or Kincaid, whatever it may be. It's you can go a variety of different ways today when you do stack these guys up. But if you play the high end guys, you're immediately down. So you're looking at maybe double tight end, you're looking at punting at wide receiver, you're looking at having to play some cheap running backs, which there truly is not. So I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to go. Even we'll talk about him in a few. Gabe Davis, he has goose eggs in 3 out of 4 games, but he's the perfect guy for this sort of slate. They're he's known as like one of the best blockers out there, and they use him to block a ton. They're going to reward this guy at some point. Like, they're going to get him a game. There's no doubt about it. So it could be today. You have a variety of different ways to go about stacking up the Bills today. But yeah, if you go with the high end dudes, you're immediately down there bargain hunting for sure.
Yeah, just seeing what we got here, but just to look at it, like you're David. So we saw
that's different right here, right? Something like this. You want to play the Bills and be different? Like, this is one way to do it immediately. Like, immediately, you're way different.
And we're going to segue to running back, but whether you like Warren or not, just using a prime example, like this lineup is already pretty different, and you now have 6.5K average left. And like I said, when you get to wide receiver, you're not going in this lineup example, you're not going to a Diggs probably. You can overstack it too. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying you can fit this still and get there as well. But if you were trying to avoid Diggs here and you don't like the Higgins matchup, I mean, you got money for days to spend wherever else you want. And these are the types of lineups that you can see find their way through. So definitely don't hate something like that. We saw a Davis-Shakir lineup work when the Bills played the Eagles that week. It ended up being Davis and Shakir that were needed, and then Devontae Smith on the other side. So there's definitely stuff like that you could see going on. And yeah, like other stuff, like Sean says, again, guy's been incredible. The stats are there. The point was valid, but anybody can get cooked on any day.
Are we talking college now?
It's not really. He is bringing up an example because it is, but the point would be the best cornerbacks get cooked all the time. Remember the week earlier in the season? Oh man, that chat was just painful that day about how Surtain was going to shut down Tyreek Hill, and Tyreek Hill burned him for 60 on like literally the first drive with the peace sign in his face. That one I'll go back to because it's like, see ya. It just doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. And on a 2-game slate, it matters even less. Let's move on. Let's talk about these running backs here, Hoop. We talked about Cook and getting the action. I mean, if you look here, these games with him, you can see his attempts right on here. Like, it was 25 last week. Still had a couple targets, ended up getting 39 the week before, ended up getting more targets, had 5 targets that week, ended up getting 25. But look, 39, 25, 16, 19, 16. It's been pretty solid, and I'm not sure what you think of the overall running back slate. You're usually not a Pittsburgh running back guy, but where are you at with these running backs today? Because it gets thin quick.
Tough. I mean, if I was going to lock one guy on today's slate, it would be James Cook. I'd lock him over Josh Allen. I'd lock him over Diggs. I'd lock him over, Tyler Boyd, if everyone likes him, or Higgins, whatever it may be. If I was going to make a big move today and just lock one guy, it would be James Cook. He's going to be a big-time focus in what they do moving forward. It's like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Like, he's been dominating. They're playing the best football of the season. They're going to get this guy the ball. There's no doubt about it, in a really good matchup against a Chargers team that could potentially be giving up at this point. So I think James Cook is just clearly the best play on the slate. Is he going to be popular? Absolutely not. Absolutely. Is he going to be one of the most popular guys on the slate? He probably is the most popular guy on the slate. But again, if you're looking to lock somebody, I think it would be James Cook today. Just a phenomenal spot. Running backs week, you have 3 other teams that are basically splitting carries. I mean, Joe Mixon and Chase Brown, I mean, it's a pretty close split between those guys. Now, do I like those guys both individually? Yeah, some, but I mean, there's going to be some takeaway there. Jalen Warren, Najee Harris, you know the story there. I mean, it's going to be a split. It actually looks like it's trending towards Jalen Warren, which is nice, because definitely prefer to play Warren over Najee Harris. And then Austin Eckler all the way up at 7,200. Their season's done. Like, how much are they going to use him moving forward? There's some risk in his playing time, I think, overall. And I still don't want to play the other dudes behind him, Spiller, Joshua Kelly. Like, that doesn't sound fun either. Although Spiller did get 16 rush attempts last game, mostly in like garbage time. But this could be another garbage time spot for the Chargers today. So running back is really, really weak. James Cook just looks so much stronger than all these other guys. And again, he's going to get all the ownership, all that. But he is the guy that I potentially look to lock today. Joe Mixon does have a nice touchdown scoring prop. He's favored to score, which, I mean, it's not like a huge number. I believe it was like minus 115, 120. Pulling it up right now. He's minus 110. So slight favorite to score. And that's better than all the other running backs on the slate besides Cook. I mean, Cook's only minus 115. So he's right there with Cook. He's going to be the goal line guy for sure. But, Brown is getting mixed in quite a bit. But, this position for me, there's two parts of this position that are very important, I think. What you do with James Cook and then what you do with Austin Eckler, because I think there is some risk there, and I haven't really decided what I'm going to do with Eckler. So I'm curious to get your take on him.
Yeah, Andrew asked this, like, do we have any info on the interim head coach and how he likes to run an offense? Don't know, don't care, only because the same thing I said. It's going to be one game today, one sample. I think the obvious would be, and that's why, like you said, it's important to get this right. No, we know Cook is good. This gets talked about. FanDuel, I think is fine. It works on both sides. I say FanDuel because it's more of a touchdown side. 12-1 though. 13-1 some places is that bet. Just go bet it. 2 touchdowns. It would come in handy on a 2-game slate, but again, it's hard to imagine. But if you could sneak one in early and then they do get ahead late, I don't hate that. The thing is, though, I don't think coaching wise or nothing, who cares? I think you just go with Eckler and try and run the ball and keep Josh Allen off the field. Is it going to work? I don't know. Maybe not. Probably not. But I at least start there. So I have way more interest in Cook, Eckler, and I have more interest in the Pittsburgh guys than the Mixon side. Again, like the touchdown prop, I think it's not crazy when he scores a touchdown to be like, that's what he does, and he gets volume and all of that. But I think he's still going to get ownership just because there's nowhere else to really go.
Just to cut in, just thinking about it a little bit more now that you kind of mentioned like the new coaching staff, it's like they're going to want to impress a little bit today, these guys. Like they're fighting for a potential job in the NFL. So have to imagine they're going to use their best players when they can. Now, will it work against the Bills? Possibly not. But now that I kind of think about that a little bit more, you have to imagine Eckler's workload's pretty secure here today. Like they know he's their best running back. I'd imagine that they're going to want to try to feature him a little bit here today. So yeah, maybe I do like Eckler a little bit more than when I initially talked about it.
And again, you saw the Spiller stuff. Again, like you said, most of it came in garbage time. They got blown out by 40-something points. Like, yeah, of course he's going to get those attempts. So you're not going to see that. But one thing was for certain was Eckler was still getting the targets early and often. So if they can stick to that sort of game plan, I've got no problem with it. I missed it because I was reading some of the chat comments. Did you have a preference between Warren? You said you like Warren over Harris, right?
Yeah. I mean, like the workload, I mean, Warren, especially on a site like DK, I mean, Warren's game just fits DK so much better. He is a little more expensive, which I'm fine with, but if deciding between the two, I mean, it's got to be Warren over Harris for me, definitely. But again, this is a 2-game slate where if Najee finds the end zone, like that could be good enough at a weak running back position, and he will get opportunities if they get to the goal line. So I'm not saying I'm fading Najee Harris, but I certainly prefer Warren over him.
Yeah, maybe the coaching change helps Eckler like it helped James Cook there. We'll see how that goes see. Nick says like this, you can definitely do same game parlays out there and find this and just throw them both on and bet that. 2 TDs for Cook, 2 TDs for Freiermuth. What would that be? So 2 or more. Log in here. Oh man, I don't even have. It's not loaded up yet. I'll see. Oh, there you go. 2 TDs for him. And then who'd you say? Freiermuth was the other one.
Yeah, that'd be a nice little Christmas bonus if that hit.
Yeah, I got to switch games, but it'd be pretty good. Yeah, so if you want to bet that, you can find that stuff out there. The other thing, just quick hoop about the Mixon thing is, do we really believe the higher ownership? Because we know Cook is getting it, and we know Eckler fits a bunch of those builds. And if people are more excited, just going back now, thinking out loud, that's why we like talking through this stuff, is like if everyone's going to Higgins or Boyd, then does it become a spot where Mixon actually gets a little bit left in the dark there, where people are going to one of those Pittsburgh guys with James Cook and or Eckler, all three, and Mixon does get dropped down a little bit from an ownership perspective?
Yeah, I think he has to get squeezed a little bit. Everyone kind of has Mixon around that 50% number, and I think it's probably more in like the 40s, potentially maybe right around 40. I mean, it's got to get squeezed a little bit just because of that price tag. Especially people are going to be playing Josh Allen at quarterback. They're going to want James Cook. They're going to want, Stephon Diggs. They're going to want the, T Higgins of the world. Like I think Mixon is down that list in terms of priority for people today. So I think that number, I think his ownership will be lower than the 50% number that everyone's showing.
Yeah. This is another thing too. Don't forget about this guy, right? Chase Brown, regardless if you like it or not, the price is still pretty fair at 4,900. He's not projecting well, but it's another guy that I would feature in there. They've been using him a lot more these last 3 games, where it's actually his numbers look better than Najee Harris. And I know it's only $100 cheaper, but it's like that is a potential spot you could go to.
They're using him right out of the gate too. It's like Mixon will come in for a couple plays and then they're going right to Brown. He's getting mixed in immediately. So it's not like it's all right. You're getting one. One set of plays. Like they're putting him in there right away.
And these games were with Jamar Chase also for the most part, right? So you got spots there and stuff like that. So I definitely could see it where he gets mixed in as well over using Mixon. And that also goes back to my original thought of the potential of a squeeze on a guy like Joe Mixon here when you've already got Cook getting it. And then you see other stuff getting spread out down below. Anything else at running back that you want to talk about before we move to wide receiver?
What are your thoughts on playing like Warren and Harris together or Mixon and Brown? Like yes or no, or are you going to, make a rule to not do that?
I don't make a rule, but I don't think I'll get it. Like, again, once you get that much Cook in there, once you get Eckler in there, once you get some of these other fillers in there, it's just really tough for me to get that. You could run if I was going to run it, I'll be honest, I would run it Warren Harris, Steelers D, and just lock it up that way. I could look at some of those hand builds maybe after, but I'd be interested in that.
I don't love it. I just don't think there's enough to go around. That's for sure. But
yeah, it's really just if they do run all day. I guess the other really interesting one then, if we're doing this right now, would be to run this. Cook gets there early and often. This guy does slam a touchdown or two in, and just the other guys don't do much on the slate, and you got that blowout angle as well. But even then, it's really tough to go. Like I would almost
because then it's like you don't want to go heavy on the Chargers. You don't want to go. You can't really play any other Bills guys, so then you're basically stacking the first game.
Yeah, this would be the other way. As like I say, even then it'd be hard for me to get Murray in the downtime. Like if in the blowout time, more so kind of want the opposite side of the guy we just saw get 16 touches plus in a blowout, where it's like you could actually then get there with Cook and his defense dominating stick. It becomes the Spiller show later on, and those are the three that you need within that game, and then you can fill it out with pretty much whatever you want beyond that. And you could still have a guy like you could still actually have Diggs in a lineup like this and get away with it. So, I mean, just on PPR points alone. So there are lots of different ways that you can go there. Let's look at some of our wide receivers here. The other thing is Pickens, Deontay both pop a little bit, but like I said, Boyd and Higgins, you knew we would see up there. So Boyd and Higgins are going to be popular. Diggs will be popular because he's easily affordable. What's your thoughts here at the wide receiver position? Who are some of the guys that stand out for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the Cincinnati guys. I do like quite a bit. Boyd, Higgins, I'm good with. Even Trent Irwin, he's going to be out there a lot. He's what, 3K, so good with him. Deontay Johnson, I always kind of like Deontay Johnson. 5,100, I'd prefer him over Pickens. Our projections like Pickens better, but I definitely prefer Deontay Johnson over Pickens if you're deciding between those two. You have the Chargers guys without Keenan Allen. Quentin Johnson just disappoints every single freaking game. Like, it doesn't matter the situation, doesn't matter who's in or out. Quentin Johnson will find a way to not do essentially anything. But you look at it, the last 3 games, he's been somewhat productive. So there is some hope there. But he has a lot of hype behind him. Joshua Palmer, same story. I mean, you can look at the last game, but that was garbage time for Quentin Johnson and Joshua Palmer. They're down by like freaking 40. And those guys got there at the end because the Chargers continued to pass. So, I'm not really thinking about what they did last game, but you have to consider both those, especially if you're playing, Josh Allen at quarterback. You want some back and forth. I mean, the best way to get the back and forth is through the pass catchers of the Chargers. And then on the Bills side of things, I think the Bills passing game is the spot a lot of people want to go. I definitely want to go there, but I do think there's some degree of risk if they continue, what they did last week. It's kind of like the Chiefs stuff that we've talked about all season long, where they're fine winning these ugly, grinded out type games. Is that the Bills now? Are the Bills willing to do that? Like, are they going to continue what they did last week? So a little bit of risk. I do think there's a chance a guy like Stephon Diggs, he's not going to be low owned, don't get me wrong, but gets squeezed maybe just like a little bit because everyone's going to James Cook for sure, right? Like, everyone's playing James Cook. People are going to go to quarterback and say, yeah, I'll just play Josh Allen. You're immediately down a lot in salary. And then if you do play Allen, you do play Cook, and you try to put in Diggs, that's what you had up originally, you're immediately full value the rest of your lineup. I think Diggs is the one that people will say, you know what? I don't necessarily need Diggs. I'll pass on him, and I'll go, I'll take a chance on like Dawson Knox or Kincaid or something like that over Diggs. So I think there is a chance Diggs, again, he's not going to be low owned. Don't get me wrong. It's a 2-game freaking slate. Think there's a chance out of all the guys, he gets maybe a little bit squeezed in there. So I'll make sure I have a decent chunk of Diggs. they're going to get the ball to either Diggs or Gabe Davis is catching a touchdown today. One of those two. Like after last week where the offense did absolutely nothing from a passing perspective, one of these guys is getting an early touchdown. It's either Diggs or Gabe Davis. I do want to be over on Gabe Davis. There's a lot of risks. I mean, he has 3 goose eggs in the last 4 games, and he's fine with this role. Like there's been interviews and stuff. He's just all about the team. He's a great blocker. They use him time. They're going to reward this guy at some point. I have a feeling that today is the day. I have a feeling Gabe Davis catches a touchdown today. So I'm going to make sure I have a lot of Gabe Davis. These calls have been spot on all season long. You can clip this after the game. Gabe Davis is catching a touchdown today, and I feel pretty damn good about that.
There it is, folks. You got it. The guy that he says is dust that all of a sudden has his big game after the let me see what we got here. Go back to wide receiver for 2 seconds. We'll go down to Gabe Davis for the game log watchers. Absolutely, bad. He's, really one game here out of all of it, but he says it's going to be today. That's when Hoop comes through every single time. I will say this, just when you were bringing up an idea there, this is another build I like today because I always call it like the red zone, end zone build. It's like once they get up there, you could definitely see a spot. I know there's Davis. I know there's Diggs, like you mentioned, but if it's not them, like Allen can run it in. James Cook could have ran them all the way up there and run it in. Dawson Knox is a guy that can get open up there once he's in the end zone. So I kind of like something like this where most will have one of Davis, Shakir, Diggs, something like that, or even Kincaid. This still frees up money and gives you a way to get after the points when they get down to the red zone, end zone. So I do like that. We talked about Easton Stick earlier, and we're going to talk about some of his wide receivers here in a second. Somebody asked about Palmer and Johnson, our guy Ross. Yeah, definitely. Danny, it's pretty straightforward. Always projections. And then if you're putting correlation and leverage and all the stuff we're teaching on the site, or if you're a member, like it sounds like, go to the NFL DFS education course. It'll break it all down for you. Ownership's just a product of what you're putting together there. But if you're using correlation and leverage, in some places you can ignore that completely and just focus on what your build looks like and getting what you want in there versus worrying about, but this guy's 27% owned. I wish he was 21%. Doesn't matter. Like build your lineups accordingly. Definitely use the projections to put yourself in a better spot, especially NBA. You asked about earlier, definitely in NBA. So other guys here, I do like Palmer. So I like Palmer over Johnston. I like Boyd over Higgins. I like Pickens over Johnson as well. Like I said, just going back to this, I like your take. Obviously, people are bringing up the Mason Rudolph connection. There was also a lot of talk back then too, though, when Rudolph it was like, I remember Tomlin was like, get Pickens the ball. Like you need to get this guy the ball.
Yeah, they've been that same thing has been said for how long's Pickens been in the NFL? Like every single week, I feel like they say they got to get Pickens the ball.
Well, they try. A guy gets
and it doesn't work
every single week. It's just that, yeah. I mean, that's the thing, but you can do both. I like your take on Davis. I wouldn't hate something like this and just plugging these guys in and starting there. Like that's 2 cheaper guys. I think most people will be on Boyd here at 4,600. You can split the difference. You're going above with Pickens, a little more above with Gabe Davis. You can still get away with some of this other stuff. And even if you went with a build with Cook and Allen here, you still have $5K left. There's lots of different ways you can go. The most of the tight ends are cheap. There's other cheaper mid-tier wide receivers. I definitely think this is an option. The one thing I will say, though, and no surprise, no difference from where everybody's already going. They're going on Josh Allen. But I'm saying that the setup of Diggs requires can be without Josh Allen, very obviously. He can catch 8 balls for 90 yards and still be needed at 8,700. He's fine because the slate is the way it is. But if Gabe Davis has a big day, it's probably a huge day for Josh Allen. Everything else he does, the rest he spreads it around, running it in, all that. So it's no surprise, but it's just to say the truth. If I would prefer to have Davis in my Allen stacks as opposed to a one-off to just, Hoop said he's going to have a big day. If he has a big day, it's likely that it's with Josh Allen. So it seems obvious, but keep that in mind. Like Zach says, could have one of those old school Isaiah McKenzie 3 touchdown games. That's definitely going to be possible. So definitely think you guys want to keep that in mind when you're looking at it. And Danny, we don't fully keep track of this, man. I appreciate you and the support, but we've given away over 100 free memberships to the site this year in the last 7 months. So when you're asking the same question there like 6 times, I'm just answering it eventually to get it done for you, man. Appreciate you. Let's keep it moving here, Hoop. I'm just going through some other low end. You brought up Irwin, who I like. I think that's a guy that when people are focused on Boyd and Higgins, if it ends up being this guy, Iovasis or whatever, Avisis, this guy, it'll really tilt me. But I do like that. I like Irwin and Shakir as the guys down low. I know some people in the Discord were bringing up like Erickson and Davis. Did you have any thoughts on either of these guys?
Just little pieces to make everything else kind of work. Like if they get in my 150, all right, but it's not going to be like I'm going to have a ton of them. And like the Chargers passing stuff, like from last week, I get it. You know, the Easton stick and all these guys like got there and stuff. It's like they're down by 50 or whatever it was, like 40, and just chucking the ball the entire time. Could that happen today? Like, yeah, maybe, but like it's somewhat unlikely. I'm going to have some stick. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to have these pass catchers, but like that was a fluke situation. I mean, they were dead in the first half. Like he did absolutely nothing. It was 100% garbage time. Again, it could happen today. Don't get me wrong. But you just tough to bank on that.
Yeah, and same even like chat's talking about Robinson or Calvin Austin. Like you got to get some shares of them if you're playing them. Like I said, when you go digging for those diamonds in the rough and hoping that they hit for you, even when you have like, okay, someone says, oh, I got Calvin Austin, I threw him on a lineup and he got there for me. He's like 1% or 2% owned. It's very likely all those lineups are dead lineups anyway, because they're not going to have the rest of the parlay put together properly. So unless you thought one of them were coming in at like 5 or 6%, wanted to get 12% to say you got double the field and actually have a stake in that player getting there, that's why I don't dig for that. And that's why you see on some slates it not even becomes something that matters, even though they end up getting there. Anything else you want to talk about on wide receiver hoop? If not, let's go to tight end.
Yeah, I don't mind you mentioned Shakir. I don't mind him. Tight end, I mean, you're going cheap. I mean, everyone's cheap except Kincaid, who I do think, you know, is similar to Stephon Diggs. Like he's down the list of bills that people want to play. I mean, it's Allen, it's Cook, and then kind of everyone else. 5K for Kincaid, or do you just go in the 3K range and take the cheap guys? I think a lot of people just go and take the cheap guys over a guy like Kincaid. So again, I think he has a chance to not be low owned, but you know, lower owned than people kind of anticipate today. Everett, Freiermuth, Hudson, all in the same range. I like Everett quite a bit today. 8 targets in, I believe, was it back-to-back games. The way they use him, I think, is perfect in a trailing game script, which I think it will be. Everett's my favorite pass catcher for the Chargers, my favorite tight end today. Freiermuth. I like Hudson, I think, over Freiermuth, to be honest. I like what I've seen out of Hudson so far. I think he's very solid. I'll mix in some Dawson Knox. He was on the field quite a bit. The thing about Dawson Knox gets you into a different tier here. I mean, he's an additional $1,000 on average cheaper than those 3K guys. And he was on the field. I mean, he did nothing because they didn't pass the ball, but wouldn't be surprised if he caught a touchdown. If he catches a touchdown at 2,700, probably need him today. So good with Knox. My boy Parham, I'll have maybe, a few shares of him just because, it's my boy and I gotta include him a little bit, not a priority play by any means, but I'll have a few shares of him today. I saw you pulled up Drew Sample, just one target last week.
You stole my line. I was going to say, if you're taking a few shares of Parham, I'll take a sample of Drew because I would put him in there. I think he does actually, 2,500 just punt it off, but he's been in the mix before last week. It was throwing up similar points to some of these other guys. It's not like the game log watch as much as what you mentioned earlier on the other guy we were talking about, where you could just see someone like them pick it up and at a 1Z position like tight end. I'd rather burn it there than try and make Calvin Austin work at wide receiver when I have like tons of wide receivers above him that even if he gets in the box, those other guys can beat him and outmatch him at tight end. It's kind of gross across the board. Sorry, carry on. I just thought that was a good one.
No, I mean, that's kind of, where I'm at tight end. I mean, there's not really too much more to talk about. I mean, you have those 3 guys that are priced in the same range, Everett, Freiermuth, Hudson. Again, I prefer Everett. You have Kincaid, who I think has a chance to get a little bit squeezed because he's more expensive, 5K coming off the big goose egg, which was very, very painful in the FanDuel live final as I had a live team with Kincaid's goose egg in there. And then Dawson Knox, which takes you to a whole nother tier, much cheaper than those 3K guys.
Like this one too, because we talked so much about Davis, how he'd be involved. The other thing about Kincaid is, well, it's not really a pay up. It's just pay up based on this slate. He's only, he's 5K. I say only, but like we would have, if it was a full slate right now and he was 4,400 on a full slate or 43, you'd kind of be fine with that. You'd be like, that sounds about right. Josh Allen is his quarterback, the spot. This could happen. 5K is a product of it being only 2 games, but still, I have no problem with it. And twofold. One, I think all four of these guys above him in our projections all come in higher owned than him, because it's kind of like these three make the most sense. They're like those one-off spots that they're all under 4K. It makes it work. And then Dawson Knox is just like, if I need the money, people will just say, Knox or Kincaid, I'll just go Knox. It's fine. He can get in the box, right? The setup here on Kincaid, though, is kind of what we've seen these last few slates, Hoop, where you've got the pay up for probability. Look at just the other night. Can't pay up for Demarcus Robinson, or you can. I mean, he goes off and crushes it. Shaheed, 7K on the Showdown slate. Way too expensive. Nope. Breaks it, gets in the box early, like a 60-yard touchdown, all that stuff. We see it week after week where these pay up spots where it's like, you just would rather save the money. Sometimes you got to spend a little bit more. I always talk about Best Buy pricing. Sometimes that $999 TV is a good deal, but the $1,200 TV is actually much better and will last much longer and do more for you. That can be the case here with these positional players as well. And I think Kincaid is interesting in this stack that still leaves you a fair share of money. Any quick thoughts on defense? And guys, you can start throwing your scores for the game tonight. So for Buffalo and the Chargers, we're going to run the sim segment. We're going to go through some Showdown stuff. Start throwing your scores into the chat for the game tonight on what you think is going to happen in that Buffalo Chargers game. Hoop, defenses, anything here?
Yeah, I mean, no strong opinion on the defenses. I mean, I'm going to play the Bills. I'm going to play the Steelers. I'm going to play the Bengals, and just whatever I get of them, I kind of get. Obviously, I think the Bills are the best defense. It's not hard to get to them at 3,500. But probably try to avoid the Chargers a little bit. But man, it's a high variance position. Anything can freaking happen. You're not even getting a huge discount on the Chargers either, which is interesting. They're 2,700. The Steelers are just $300 more. So no strong opinion at defense.
And real quick, because we got time here, we'll be on for the 15 minutes at least, more like we always are. But just a quick question. Monday night, I want to get your quick take on this. The Ravens 5.5-point underdogs. Who do you got in that game against the 49ers? Spread.
Man, it is crazy. Like, if the 49ers are favored by 5.5, right, in that game against who is probably the second best team overall this year. I mean, it just goes to show like how highly Vegas thinks, or the public thinks, of this 49ers team. Like, man, that's a big boy number, but dude, they are playing so good. Like, I'm on the 49er side.
And it's up to 6 now as well.
Yeah.
No homer. The people that know, there's the Ravens thing. I'm a huge Ravens fan. I got
Seems
the
like
Ravens,
a bad spot for them.
I got the Ravens winning when it doesn't matter as much, when it's a preview and not the actual thing or something like that. That's why I like the 6. If it wants to keep going, I don't think it will. But someone asked this. I like Boyd if you're playing. I know it's season long, but I'll just answer. But I do like Boyd today in the spot that he's in over Gus Edwards. And I know that obviously the unfortunate news of like Keaton Mitchell being out for the season now and the injury and all that happened. But I do think Lamar, people might be forgetting, Lamar versus NFC teams is definitely a thing. He shows out and shows off, and that's what I'm hoping happens on Monday. But I do like that. I think that regardless of some of the injury stuff, they're going to show up, and their defense is just so good. And this is the big time deal because it's the quote unquote MVP battle between Lamar Jackson and Joe Montana, aka Brock Purdy. So we got to see how this thing shakes out. But I think it's going to be a really good game. I'm super excited for Monday night. What a way to end Christmas Day for those celebrating Christmas out there. Just an awesome thing with, even if you're not, just the holidays in general, family, friends, things like that. It's going to be a great way for that day to end. One thing I want to say, two quick things, Hoop. One was on the defenses. I'll start. Defense against quarterback. Awesome today. Perfect spots for it, really, right? Like, you could play the Bills D against an Easton Stick lineup. You could play the Chargers D against Allen. Maybe he's the only guy. He throws picks all the time. It's only 4 quarterbacks to pick from that you can put the defenses against. There's definitely opportunity there. Even if they get blown out, you could see that possibly be a way that they do get in the box for one of their small scores or something like that. So I don't hate defenses against quarterbacks. And then real quick, jumping back to it, Hoop, the chat had asked about 2 tight end builds today and how popular you think those are going to be. And if you're willing to use a bunch of them, what ones would stand out for you?
Yeah, good with 2 tight end builds today. I mean, it would be, I said I like Everett. I'd be fine pairing him with like anyone else. I'm fine with double tight ends today. 2-game slate, like certainly. Like could 2, basically you're saying, can 2 of these tight ends get at least 10 fantasy points? I think it's well within the realm of possibilities today. So good with 2 tight end builds, no doubt about it.
Yeah, Billy asked a good question. Yeah, it does look like 3 running backs, man, just because when you put Cook and Eckler, then it's kind of just how it will sort out. But there's lots of builds that you'll see on the other side as well. So I don't have like a definitive for you. I just think the way
I think it'll be pretty spread. I think it'll be pretty spread just because you do have like the Tyler Boyds, the Joshua Palmers at wide receiver. You have, multiple 3K tight ends. I think it'll be pretty spread out.
Yeah, that's more my point too. Is I just don't care enough. I don't think it's going to be like there's no
more important on main slates. They like that conversation is way more important on like main slates opposed to these smaller ones.
Yeah, I agree. I like our guy Nick here. The Ravens win by 3+. I would love that. So going to be a good game though. We'll flip over to Showdown. I'll pull up the sim segment at the end. Hoop, do you want to do a quick run through on this? I mean, first off, got to get your take on Josh Allen. Some of these are the slates where you just lock Josh Allen, but you brought up for the 2-gamer earlier where there could be a slight concern. Is that the same for you on this Showdown slate where you would be willing to drop down, save the money, and go to Cook or a Diggs, or where are you at thinking of captains for the Showdown slate tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it'd just be Bills captains for me on this slate. I mean, Josh Allen, James Cook, Diggs, definitely Gabe Davis should be low owned up top. Like that would be my one, like really, I guess sneaky, whatever you want to say. That would be my one. He's only 5,800 too. So like you put him in the captain, Gabe Davis, he's 8,700. I think he just has a chance for a big game today. So it's going to be consolidated for me. Allen, Cook, Diggs, Gabe Davis. Those are the 4 that I would kind of focus on. Just I'm not going to get to the Charger stuff. Like, I get it. They'll be much lower owned, but it's just like, no thanks. I'm not playing any Chargers up top.
Big game, Gabe. There's the quick show core for me. I like this one. Gabe with Allen and the flex. You get Palmer on the other side. You still have 7.4K. Like I love something like that. I'll probably go to Palmer and Eckler in the captain. That might be it though. Like on that side, and I'll be much.
Hey, you know what? Maybe I'll say if I was going to go Charger, maybe some. Where's my boy Everett? I think he's really cheap. 4,200.
He might be a third for me, but I will say, much like my Josh Allen conversation, and also there's much less likelihood that Allen gets these 1-yard tush push brotherly shoves either. That at 17-1, when I see Diggs, I see Cook, I see Gabe Davis, who we just talked about, I will play a couple Chargers. I'll be underweight at least on Allen in the captain tonight. Obviously, James Cook looks really good. We'll see where his ownership comes in, but he's quite a bit less at 15K. That 2,100 goes a long way throughout the rest of your build, where you can still get Josh Allen in, get Stephon Diggs, and then drop down from there. So definitely think this slate will be something to look at. But let's go over here. Let's go to Run the Sims. Let's do a couple scores for them out there tonight. What score do you got first there, Hoop, that we can pull up for people?
Let's do a Bills blowout, 35-17.
Yeah, and for those that haven't checked it out, we do this on the Mayo Show all the time, but it's just runthesims.com. We're partnered with them. Justin and team, awesome over there. You guys can use promo code SHIPIT to get 10% off. All you do is you go over there, you go to the tools, go NFL, go to the Sim Runner. That's where we're at now. We're not going to go in the pro mode. You're finding the slate. So tonight we're scrolling down for the Showdown captain mode, Buffalo versus LAC. We're going to do the inputs. You said you had 35-17, so we're going to change it to 35. You can change everything. You can go all in depth here with the pace, the rush rates, change over the market shares if you think things are going to shake out a bit different. But we're just going to do the scores to keep it simple. The settings are for 10,000 sims to go off of. Go ahead, Hoop, while I run
while this is running, just to reiterate, make sure you get those, hit the subscription button on this page. And we're trying to get to that 5,000 number. We get to that 5,000 number, we're giving away an annual membership. So, obviously our members have probably already hit this subscribe button. But if you're not a member, man, highly incentivized to not only hit the subscribe button here, but get the kids' tablet, go to the neighbor's house, knock on the door. I mean, find multiple ways to get that. I mean, the value of the annual package is, we sell it for way cheaper than we should. So, just keep hitting that subscribe button.
Yeah, and also don't forget about Granny, man. If she don't want to give up that iPad or that iPhone that she's playing solitaire on, tip her right out of the wheelchair, grab that thing out of her
wheelchair.
Hand, slam it in there.
The wheelchair.
Just quick subscription. But we got about 10 during the show live already. So we know almost 250 people watching. Not sure what those like buttons are at. We can do this too while we're live and just see it. But let's see here. 230 watching, 95. We'll give it our own like 96. We got to get those things rolling too. Future value. Obviously, if you guys want to get over there and check it out, you can try out the weekly for just $24. Get in on all this content for what we're going through right now. Just so you guys know, we've got projections and ownership for every single slate across the board all weekend. Doesn't matter. And go through all those. For Showdown, we'll have the projections and ownership for each slate. Tonight, we've got the cores up for the Showdown stuff. And then on the other slates, we usually have the player pools and slate plans. But because we're already covering the two gamers, it's all built in, plus the show segments. You've got that there. We'll have these all up. The stack rankings are up for the main slate, the DVP rankings year to date, both basic and advanced. That's just NFL, all the NBA stuff going on. Amazing projections. If you're using projections, and you should be for NBA and you haven't tried ours out, you definitely want to get in on that. Like people say, even some of the best players in the world are on record and have said you need projections. And if you've got good projections that are different, that's how you can get ahead. Obviously, a lot of people have our competitors' projections that are also very good, but they cost a lot and they're not different from what the rest of the industry is doing. Most people are on the same ones. You can use ours. And if you want to get into the mood for PGA, Hoop and I just recorded this. It just went live yesterday. We recorded DFS Process 101, the PGA edition, breaking down our process entirely towards golf. DFS, we did our roster construction stuff with punt plays, weather, wave stacking, ownership. We talked about the FGWC if you're trying to get to the Fantasy Golf World Championship this year, the secrets of satellites to get into the bigger events to find yourself a way to a bigger bankroll, and then huge money in PGA DFS Showdown, concepts, strategies, weather, wave stacking, using the in-tournament stats in ways different than others, and then roster construction. And then lastly, our members sent in a ton of questions. We answered every single one of them either here or throughout the course. It's 2 hours. It comes free with any membership to the nation. Let's hop back over here, Hoop. We've got the optimal results. For those just tuning in for the first time or who have never seen this, it's just run the 10,000 sims, see what they play-by-play shoot out like. In this score total, the 35-17 Bills, Josh Allen, who they have in around 55% owned in the flex and around 31 in the captain for 86 total, shows up less in the flex, but much more, almost 50% of the time in the captain, 92% of lineups, almost a pure lock button in this scenario. Hoop, what's your thoughts? I mean, that's obvious, I think, to you, but what else do you got with this first run that we've done, 35-17?
Yeah, so to kind of correlate this to our conversation with the two game slate, right? When we talked about it. So any of these Bills kicking the Chargers ass type lineups is going to want Allen number one, and then James Cook number two. Stephon Diggs is a little bit down here, 45% of lineup. So I think we can correlate that as well to that two game slate where we talked about it. I think Diggs has a chance to get squeezed a little bit for this exact reason, because this is how the public's going to be thinking. Josh Allen 1, Cook 2. Do I have enough money to get to Stephon Diggs? Yeah, maybe not. So then I'll take Diggs out. So, maybe Diggs is the play on the two game slate. For the Showdown slate, your boy Palmer showing up here as the Chargers guy they want, which is, interesting. Got Gabe Davis here. Again, the one thing that stands out to me, Cook over Diggs, though.
Yeah, I like that. I think a couple other things stood out. Like, obviously, Easton Stick, even in them putting up only 17, it's a price thing, right? And the guy that has the ball in his hands the most, or probably does, we'll see what Eckler ends up doing. It does not love Eckler. It's not like Eckler goes way off the board, but they just don't like him in the captain, like him a lot less in flex than he was, 3% less over there as well. But like, couple notes for sure. Easton Stick pops out. They have him in the captain only 3% of the time is what they're thinking. I think he could come in more than that, but let's say he's in there 3% of the time. They've got him in 9% of the time in the captain. They've got him 42% in the flex, and then the Sims have him 47% in the flex. So it definitely likes Easton Stick. Palmer, not a popular captain, but still coming in almost 7% of the time, even in that game script. And we've seen that in some other games where guys like Cortland Sutton pops in, because it's, again, he's a wide receiver 1 for that team, but it's a price play. It's the same thing here with the Palmer. Your Davis play pops up a little bit more. The other thing just to note quickly is people see this, I think, and just so anybody using this or wanting to get over to run the Sims and sign up with promo code SHIPIT to save 10%, people look at this hoop and say, oh, see, Cook's a bad play. No. He's still showing up in 60% of the lineups. It's just saying based on them thinking he's super owned at captain, they have him in the Sims coming in slightly less. When you run the Sims, he doesn't pop up 24% of the time. That's where that negative captain leverage comes from. And in the flex, they see him about 47% of the time. It drops down a couple percent as well, but he's still showing up in plenty of lineups. So something else there to keep in mind. Anybody else here got a score, Hoop, that you want to throw up there? We can do another one.
Let's do a score that we kind of talked about, which is a real possibility where the Bills get a lead and just kind of grind it out. So Bills win, but low-scoring Bills win.
Like 27-14, or what are we thinking? 24-14?
Yeah, 24-14, something like that. They get the lead. Maybe Chargers score like a garbage time touchdown at the end. It was 21-7 the entire game, and then they find a way to get something at the end.
Yeah, this would almost be similar to like what you said. Even if, again, you can build your scripts this way when you're doing it with your hand builds and stuff too. But like to your point, if you load something like this, it kind of even could be like where they're up, like you said, like 21-7, get up 24-7, and then there's a garbage time touchdown for the Chargers. Yeah. Could definitely see something like that happening. And Joanne left Grandma's wheelchair alone, took Grandpa's cane, sold it to play today. Help me out.
It's so funny. Like, I mean, this is like complete bullshit because I picked the guy last week, as one of the options, and you say, oh, the wheelchair thing's so played out, we're not doing that, blah, blah, blah. Now you've referenced it twice on the show today.
Yeah, that not for winners though. Not picking winners.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's always that. Yeah, there's always
a caveat. There's always a caveat.
Yep. Okay, makes sense now, right? Bullshit.
It's also the holiday season. I'm spreading the cheer, trying to keep my guy Hoop happy. You love that one. I'm like, I know he'll like this. Let me just throw that out there. Good little setup for the people. It's good chemistry here, Hoop. So
yeah.
All right, guys. This is the last one we're going to run for you today. So we ran it here. This is going to be the 24-14. We talked about how it could get there. Here's the setup of it. Josh Allen still 87.5%. Again, no surprise to this one. After that, it does kind of level out a bit more. Like, yes, James Cook still 60, Easton Stick. It's very similar. But what do you see here with this one, Hoop? Because
Palmer's very similar. Besides the Bills D popping up a little bit more. I mean, the Bills D's up here a little bit, but it's truly, it's very similar to what we just saw.
Yeah, could play itself out that way. Obviously, if you guys are a member, you can go get your own custom lineups based off of this and your own custom projections based off of this. We could set it up, and Nuance is right with you. You guys are hand in hand coming at him. He had his horrible NBA takes yesterday. I had to let him know. So that's the fun of the community. If you are a member and you're in the Discord, we're in there all the time. There's no like Q&A today at 9 p.m. Eastern, and you get to chat with us, or like the setup of, oh, he's still in here late at night. Can you believe we're just in there all the time having a good time? So many like-minded individuals, people that are just trying to get better at DFS, wanting to find good results, see some success over time, hopefully today with the slate at hand. But everybody sort of picks and chooses their spots. You get it when you get it. So I don't see too much here different, Hoop. I guess Easton Stick and Palmer continue to be the options that pop up. But Quentin Johnston, just a note, we didn't talk a lot about him on the main two-gamer either. He's definitely a guy you could go to. He's 1,000 less than, let me just say this. He's 1,000 less than Palmer on the main slate. But some of this stuff, if we go back over real quick to the two-gamer, and then we'll get out of here, is like this type of setup, right? If you've got a Freiermuth and a Palmer, I think you've got a very popular build. But you can, again, you'll need to find $200, but you can go to a pay up for Kincaid and do a pay down in a spot others aren't really doing it with a Quentin Johnston, and that ends up being almost the same build. You got to find $200, but to be honest, on the two-gamer, you probably have hundreds to play with. You're not very often maxing out your 50K salary. Even when you're hand building, you're landing in spots where could be $1,000 left, and you're trying to reset things up to find a different way to go around it. So just little things like that are what I'm always looking at. Pay up to pay down, where most people will have Palmer and a Everett or a something like that. I think that you could see with a Hudson or a Freiermuth, just little things like that are where you can do it. So any final thoughts from you, Hoop, before we get out of here?
Yeah, and on the Quentin Johnston thing, totally fine play. They take shots with the guy. They look for him down the field, which is what you want. The problem is they just haven't connected at all, and it's Easton Stick throwing him the ball. But I would definitely want exposure to Quentin Johnston just to wrap up that conversation. In terms of the two-game slate, which we covered in the opening, it's a fun one, 500,000 up top for the main event on DraftKings. A lot of different ways to go. I think we covered it very well. All our content already posted over at SHIPITNation.com. We get our stuff early, so you're able to get in there, start building your lineups, get in the Discord, ask any questions that you do have. We'll make updates if needed, but everything's already up and posted nice and early for all our members and any potential members that want to come over and try it out. It's a commitment that we've made to ourselves and our members. We're going to get stuff up early for you, so you're not sitting around waiting like, hey, where are the plays? Who are you on today? Where are the cores? We get our stuff early, and if we make changes, we'll note it on the content and in the Discord. Very excited for this slate. Very excited for the Showdown slate. If you have anything going on with the family today, enjoy that time. Good luck in your contest. And again, as I said in the opening, this starts a very busy weekend. Full slate, the 2-game slate today, full slate tomorrow, Christmas Day slate, 3-game slate. We have you covered for all of it. Very excited for this weekend to watch some football and spend time with the family. Let's have a big weekend.
Yeah, Newman says it's all about the fun. We call each other out, make each other better. That's what it's all about. If you want to join in on the fun, go to shipitnation.com. Use that code MAYO. It'll get you 10% off any membership plan that's monthly or more. The weekly, you just hop in, you get all the content, the projections, the ownership, the courses, all of that. If you want to get in on Run the Sims, you can check out runthesims.com. Use promo code SHIPIT to get 10% off. And if you're still bored, on top of all this other stuff going on beyond the weekend, our partnership with Drafters does live on. They actually just launched their playoff best ball format. So if you're already a member, they've got a $3 and a $20. The $20 has $50K up top. They could see some overlay there, they said. So we'll see how that shakes out. But if you want to become a member, go to shipitnation.com/drafters, or just go to Drafters and use the code SHIPIT. They'll give you a 100% deposit bonus up to your first $100. So you can get 5 drafts and get 5 for free. Buy one, get one free. Put 20 bucks on, get an extra one. Lots of different ways you can use this stuff we got going on. Shout out to everybody out there for a happy holiday season. For Hoop, for myself, ToeTagginTambo, let's ship it.